Hello everyone, and welcome to Austin Wildlife Rescue's virtual Caring for Critters Brunch. I'm Jim Spencer. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you all have your brunch and a Tito's cocktail in front of you and are ready to share the next 45 minutes with us. Thank you to Waterloo Ice House for donating a portion of their proceeds today to AWR, and to Tito's Vodka for providing those great cocktail recipes. Today, the folks at Austin Wildlife Rescue are going to share how they are managing amid COVID-19 and how it has impacted the organization. They'll present their Community Giving Award to a very generous organization in the Austin community. And then you'll hear about and see all the animals they are caring for this year. A little later in the program, we'll announce the greeting card art contest winners. You'll see a link in the video description where you can donate throughout the program today, and a link to the silent auction, which closes tomorrow at 8 p.m. All donations made today will go toward caring for orphaned and injured wildlife in Central Texas. And right now, I'll send it over to our Executive Director, Haley Hudnall.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us virtually today. Thank you to Jim, we really appreciate you being with us and supporting Austin Wildlife Rescue's mission. I wish that we could all be brunching together this morning, and I'm sure that you do too. Hopefully next year we'll get to see each other in person. At least you didn't have to get dressed up this morning. You can enjoy this program from the comfort of your home, maybe even in your PJs. I've heard from several of you that you'll actually be snuggled up with your brunch and your pet on the couch. I've got my dog with me here. He's sleeping. So this is our third annual Caring for Critters Brunch and our biggest fundraiser of the year. Thank you to all of our event sponsors, everyone who bought tickets, and everyone that's participating in the silent auction. Also, a very special thank you to Nick and Amy at the Nicholas J. Juriad Family Foundation for being our presenting sponsor this year. We set a goal to raise $85,000 at this year's event. Of course, once we realized that we weren't having an in-person event, it seemed like maybe it was an unattainable goal. But we have the most amazing supporters that come through for us no matter what, especially when times are tough. So far, we've raised $48,000, and we're hoping that you can help us hit our goal. We told you in one of our emails that we had a big announcement about a very generous donor match. Our friend Colin Corrigan has pledged to match up to $20,000 in donations raised during the event today. So we would love to turn that $20,000 into $40,000 and exceed our goal. Thank you so much, Colin. The link to donate is in our video description. As I'm sure you can imagine, COVID-19 has had a huge impact on every aspect of AWR. We had to shut down our intake center twice this year, which was unimaginable to me. I always want to be available to help you and to help injured and orphaned wildlife. In March, when the shelter-in-place order went into effect, we shut down our MLK facility for 3 days. So not only to find out if we were allowed to even continue taking in animals, but also to figure out how to change protocols so that animals could be safely dropped off. We needed the public to feel safe, and we needed to keep our staff safe. We definitely couldn't afford to have our staff sick and no one there to care for the animals. We determined that AWR is an essential business. We are providing life-saving care to animals, and so we reopened just a few days later. At that point, I thought that we had everything under control, but I was wrong. We had a staff member that tested positive for COVID in early July, and we had to shut down our intake center again. We had several staff that had to self-quarantine and possible symptoms even, and we could not operate both facilities with 7 people missing. So we moved all intake and all animal care to our rehab center. Everyone was so generous and so patient with us. We had 209 animals driven out to our Elgin facility in the 9 days that we were closed. Fortunately, staff are healthy. We are operating both facilities again at full capacity, and I can only hope that it stays that way. Because people are home, they're finding a lot more animals than usual, and that's really reflected in our numbers. We've taken in 6,700 animals as of the end of July. Last year at that time, we hadn't quite hit 6,000 yet. So this means we're on track to care for well over 8,000 animals by the end of the year. COVID-19 also put a hold on our volunteers for about 2 months. We rely so heavily on the volunteers to help us out. Staff are working harder than ever to take care of the animals. Fortunately, we opened back up to volunteers in June, and we cannot thank them enough for all of their help, especially when they're wearing a mask when it's 105 degrees outside. I know that's not fun at all. So our new COVID protocol means that there's a decrease in public interaction. Staff generally spend a lot of time talking to the public and the people that are dropping off animals and answering any questions they have, and then they make a donation to us for the animal that they brought. But because of this limited interaction, our donations have taken a pretty big hit. Intake donations are down almost 50%, and this is money that we use to buy food and supplies for the animals. One thing that hasn't changed through all of this is our mission to save injured and orphaned wildlife. Our mission does not stop because of COVID-19, and neither do we. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program.
I'm Diana Rice, and I've been volunteering at Austin Wildlife Rescue for 2 years. One reason that I love volunteering here is kind of selfish. It really makes me happy to take care of these animals that are brought in due to being injured or orphaned or displaced, and sometimes due to human activity, even unintentional human activity, and to return them back into the wild where they belong. This is very important for the earth because every species has a place in the ecosystem. It's also amazing to experience their animal behavior and to see their personalities and to learn about their physical and emotional needs. Another reason I enjoy volunteering here is the staff. They are wonderful, kind, like-minded people. Every animal that comes in the door, they care about. And again, their goal is to release them back into the wild when they're healthy. They're also very patient with me, and they answer all my questions all the time. And that's because there's always something new to learn.
I've always, as a veterinarian, believed that life was irreplaceable and so valuable, and I've always wanted to teach my clients how to take care of their animals too, and I like teaching the staff at the center too, so that they can become more skilled, and we teach each other. But I think that the core of it is, and I was asked this question at a demonstration. We were doing a outreach with some of our owls to a group as an education, and a man came up to me and said, well, why do you bother saving them? And I was absolutely floored because I had never had to answer that question, and I thought about it just for a second, and it just seems to me so natural that life is a wonder, it's irreplaceable, it's precious. How can you not replace a life if you can do it? And I feel like humans are animals, and we've impinged on the environment of a lot of animals who live with us in the world, and the least we can do is try and repair some of that damage. The hard part is, in wildlife medicine, they have to be able to survive. So you can't, like in small animal medicine, have a three-legged dog who has bad arthritis in the other leg or something. You can have three-legged wild animals, but you have to make them have a quality of life. So it's the value of life, and it's the value of quality of life, and it's a constant soul searching to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and it's hard for all of us. I think that I live and work with people who value life in many forms, that a little Texas rat has a valuable life, as does a little freshwater turtle, as does a hawk or an eagle. They all have equal value. And sometimes people think, oh, they don't live very long, it doesn't matter. But their lives in their time are long. So I really feel like that's the driving force for a lot of us at Wildlife Rescue, and it's also cool. It's cool to work with the animals. As we sort of talked about, there's lots of species of animals that we do, and certainly as I was beginning, that was sort of terrifying. But I started doing especially raptors, which are birds of prey, like hawks and owls, vultures or raptors. So anything that sort of catches prey with their talons. So the first couple years, I ended up doing a couple of red-tailed hawks, pinning broken wings on them. And then they graduated into flight cages because they have to exercise, they have to fly and exercise. And going out to the flight cage and seeing two of those birds, because you can put them together, two of them sitting together and then flying off in the flight cage, and knowing that I really had repaired their wings so that they could fly was an unforgettable experience for me.
My name is Catherine. I am the Animal Care Assistant Manager, and I've been with AWR for about 2.5 years now. Wildlife rescue is the most interesting job I've ever had. So it is new every single day. You're going to get a different animal every single day. But you're able to heal these animals and treat them, and being able to release them back to where they're found is one of the coolest parts of being able to work with these animals. And it's fun to see something as tiny as a pinky squirrel that's 12 grams grow up and be a wild, crazy squirrel in a cage and just dart off at release time. So just being able to treat these animals and see them become better and getting to that point of being able to be released is one of the most rewarding parts of working with wildlife rescue. Well, raccoons are probably one of my favorites because they have the most personality. They absolutely are the messiest and the stinkiest, so you definitely have to get used to that, but they are the most fun. They are so interested in you. They are so interested in their food and their water. So raising a raccoon, just be prepared for a mess, no matter what. Be prepared for your arms being covered in scratches. But it's fun. They love to have a bottle right away. They learn who you are, so they know the bottle right away. And then as they get older, they kind of disassociate you with the bottle so much as you're bringing them water and food. And as they get older, it just kind of goes away where they don't want to be around you at all. But raccoons are one of the best ones because they are playing all day long. They're making noises at you all day long, and they constantly just destroy everything and want to have fun. So raising a raccoon, we have them for 8 months. I mean, we have them for a really long time because that's the time that mom truly has them, and before they go off on their own. So they're with us for a really long time. So we get to know these raccoons, the ins and outs of every one of them. We know exactly who they are, what their personality type is, which ones are feisty. They'll have a note on them saying, feisty, watch out, or I bite, watch out. And then you have the ones that have a little heart and a smiley face on them because they are just lovable and they are just so happy to see you every day. And it's fun to see the raccoons go from a teeny tiny little incubator baby through the different stages of being in a bin or getting new siblings with them, playing in their hammocks, getting to taste fruit for the first time, and they get so excited and they put it in their mouth and they're like, I just want more and more and more, and they can't stop themselves. And then going to being in a crate where you can literally see the crate shake because they are all just playing and running and swinging and doing everything. And that's about the time when we're like, they need to be outside. So we put them in different stages of cages and to make sure they can climb. And we have jean butts, which we call just like cut off jeans that turn into hammocks for these raccoons. And they love them. They lounge, they play, they are being the best raccoons possible. And then when they get, right before release, they get to be put in a larger cage with about 15 other raccoons, and we actually have little kid like slides and stuff in there so they can truly play and have fun, and we can actually see the more enrichment with them because they're such smart animals. Well, in Texas, it's actually illegal to raise any wildlife at home if you don't have a certain permit for it. But one of the most, or the biggest thing about not raising wildlife is that every animal is going to have its natural instincts come out. It's going to be a wild animal no matter what. So even though we have a lot of interaction with the babies when they are younger, such as raccoons, where we're bottle feeding, they do know who we are. As they get older, instincts kick in and they become territorial, they'll become more aggressive. They really don't want to have you around. And the same thing is going to happen if someone raises them at home. It reaches that point where if you have a raccoon running around your house, instincts are going to kick in. They're going to be territorial. They're going to want to kind of go after you, or another animal in your house, or a child. And that can be really dangerous. But it's worse for the animal because they're never experiencing what it's like to be out in the wild or to forage for their own food. So if you were to ever release them, it's harder for them to adapt to the wild, and they have a lower survival rate once they're imprinted as being raised in a home because they didn't learn those different things about growing up as a raccoon. Whereas with us, we go through the different stages. They're able to be with other raccoons. That natural instinct kicks in, and once we see that natural instinct, we do stay away from them besides feeding and cleaning their cage every day. So they build those different adaptations for what to look for in the wild and how to forage for their own food. We do different things to make sure that they turn into a raccoon, but imprint raccoons can be really dangerous to have out.
I'm Dottie Ratzliff, a member of the Board of Directors and long-term supporter of Austin Wildlife Rescue. Since joining the board, I have discovered an inspiring group of individuals that are absolutely dedicated to making sure that the organization's work continues every day, 365 days a year, without fail. While we are enjoying our weekends, they are working around the clock, making sure that all of those animals are taken care of. Austin Wildlife Rescue runs on only 7 full and 2 part-time staff members. They're supported by seasonal employees, interns, volunteers, and board members. They are often driving 45 miles each way to be part of this organization. They are on track to care for over 8,000 animals this year. All of that is while they are answering phone calls, they are creating educational programs, and arranging daily transports. Working with such an awesome team, I often find myself wondering, what can the staff do with a bigger budget? How can we create more free educational programs? And in what ways can we support our city to grow sustainably, helping us to live with the wildlife around us? This is our largest annual fundraiser. Your support ensures that we are able to continue the work that we do caring for injured, orphaned, and displaced Central Texas wildlife. I'd like to ask for your help today, making this fundraiser our most successful yet. You can become a monthly donor, you can check out our silent auction, and remember that any donation made today is matched by Colin Corgan. On behalf of the Board of Directors, thank you for making Austin Wildlife Rescue an organization for which we are proud.
we are headed out to the owl release. They are 3 great horned owls that we raised from the time that they were babies. And you know, what's cool about this is it's one of our first great horned owl releases. As we've said before, we didn't have the facilities at at our old facility, at our intake center, to do the big raptors. We didn't have a 100-foot cage. And so we depended really heavily on the rehabbers to do them at their houses, and then they would just raise them to release and release them themselves. So we would see the babies come in, but never really the adults. So this is the first time we've seen them come in as little babies. We watched them all the way, about 6 months we've had them, and we raised them until they're ready for release. So today we are taking them out to release them on one of our designated release sites, and it should be really cool. We have a list of about 50 different release sites right now, and depending on what we have, so if we have possums or skunks or squirrels, we go to the place that we know will work for those. If they have at least 100 acres and a water source that doesn't go dry, we know that we can bring anything there. But like today we're going where there's an open field, but then there's also a really nice creek bed that has a lot of water in it right now. And so we know that we'll be able to release them into the field, they'll be able to fly, but then they'll be able to land in the treed area and still be right near water. Grab one out.
He says, what do you want?
I know. I'm really good at here. You've been feeding me. Why would I leave? It was one of the coolest releases that I think that I've done since, as I said, we haven't done anything like that before with the big raptors. So, they don't always like to come out of the crates. You never know what an animal feels like. So when we do a raccoon release, they'll usually come out on their own. It just depends on the animal. So with the great horns, they weren't interested at all in coming out of the crate. So I knew I was going to have to actually get gloves on and pull them out of the crates. These guys are strong. They're not friendly anymore, even though we've raised them from such a young age. And so getting them out is always fun because they're going to show you their claws and they're going to lunge at you and they're going to lunge at the glove, which even though they can't go through the glove, the pressure of their talons is amazing and it can hurt just through the glove. So, I pulled each one out separately. Some of them lunged at me. The one actually just let me pull them out, but the other two lunged and grabbed the glove, and I was able to pull the one out. We never want to hurt them pulling them out either, so we've got to be careful of their wings. We've got to be careful of their feet, getting them, on the glove and then kind of giving them the oomph that they need to take off and go up into the trees. We don't want them, walking around on the ground. We want to make sure they didn't hurt themselves on the way, and we're always kind of ready with gloves and a net in case there's one we need to catch if it doesn't fly as well. But all three of these were amazing. They flew all the way into the trees, and the one even landed on the power lines, and we'll never see them again or get them back. So it was the perfect release. You really really liked watching that release that we just did with the owls, then we actually have an item that you can bid on in our auction today, where you will get to come on a release with us. And we would love to have you. You'll join our staff, you'll drive out to the location, and we'll be releasing, you know, raccoons or possums or maybe raptors. It just depends on the day. And there's some requirements. Check those out. The link is in our video description to be able to bid on this item. And the proceeds from this auction go straight back into caring for the animals. So we couldn't have done this release without the funds we had to build the 100-foot raptor cage that we talked about. So we wouldn't be releasing these ourselves anyway. So anything that you bid on today, the proceeds go right back into the animals, and we appreciate it.
And now it's time to announce our Student Wildlife Art Competition winners. My name is Mariya, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for Austin Wildlife Rescue. We've created this competition to encourage learning about our native Texas fauna, to help polish students' observational skills, and to give them an opportunity to flex their artistic muscles. Science and art often go together. From the work of Beatrix Potter, who was not only a children's author and illustrator, but also an esteemed mycologist, to inventions by Leonardo da Vinci, to modern imaging technologies, art is a language of communication and discovery. This is our first year running this competition, and we've received close to 50 entries, which with COVID and summer is really fantastic. So we're super excited. Thank you to all the students, parents, and teachers who've made this possible. The judges had a really hard time deciding between so many beautiful entries. I think I need a drum roll now. Oh, thank you. And so our winners for 7th through 12th grade category are The Great Horned Owl by Allison Moss, Jay and Cardinal at Bartholomew Pool by Vanessa Law. Allison's piece was fantastic. When you look at it, it really does make you feel like you're looking at a great horned owl at night, and plus it's so detailed. We really loved it. Jay and Cardinal by Vanessa Law, she used her reference in a very interesting way, which is fantastic. Instead of using, you know, one picture, she used a lot of different images and also references of Bartholomew Pool, and really created a piece that was truly her own. So great job, guys. For K through 6th grade category, the winners are Ella Sturman with her hummingbird and Soledad Radcliffe with her red cardinal. We really love the colors and composition in Soledad's piece, and you know, who doesn't love cardinals? And in Ella's piece with the hummingbird, you can see all the details and how much love was put into it. So congratulations, guys. Great work again. All winners will receive a prize package, and their work will be professionally scanned and edited to be printed in our 2020 greeting card fundraiser, which will be available later this year. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you to everybody who entered. If you'd like to do more wildlife activities with children, we have some activity pages and coloring sheets available under Learning Resources, and we'll be adding to it throughout the year.
We often say that it takes a village to keep 8,000 animals fed and cared for each year, and we could not do it without the generous support of our community. The past 2 years, we've given out a community giving award at this event to an organization that has made a significant impact on AWR. Thank you again to Subaru of Georgetown and Tomlinson's Feed for your continued and generous support. This year, we're presenting the award to Sprouts Farmers Market on Manchac Road in Austin. Each week, they gather unsold produce and they box it up for us. Then every Tuesday, we pick up an entire truckload of fruits and vegetables and bring them back to the Rehabilitation Center. Not only does this save us a lot of money at the grocery store each week, but it provides our animals with a huge variety of produce they might not otherwise get. Thank you so much to Steve, Alan, and everyone at Sprouts for your support. We cannot thank you enough, and we really appreciate it.
We get so many skunks, and one of the first first things that we always get asked is, do we get sprayed? And the answer is yes. However, when they are younger, they can spray, but it's more of just like a puff of air that goes away quickly. Whereas when they get older, they definitely will spray you. And I've gotten sprayed many times, but you just kind of get used to it. You get used to your clothes smelling like skunk spray. That's part of it. But my entire life, my mom was always called or said someone is grumpy like a grumpy skunk. And it is so true, because skunks are grumpy. When they're little, they make talking noises. They go to each other, and that's all you hear in mammal room when we have skunks, because they're just playing with each other and they're talking to each other, and they're stomp. So they stomp whenever that's their first warning sign, and they stomp, and then they will bottom. But they never actually spray or anything, but that's their warning, and it's the cutest little stomp ever, and it's really hard to be intimidated by something so small and it stomps at you. So they're very, very cute, and once they grow up, they just get this puffy tail and they walk around. It's Pepe Le Pew. And you know, we get a lot of skunks. So they come in teeny tiny, and skunks grow up quite fast, and they get big, and then you have to try to catch them so that they can be released, and that's when you get sprayed, because they do not want to be around you at that time. This year we even got a spotted skunk, which has been super rare because you never see those here around Texas here. And we are so in love with this spotted skunk. It's like the rare one, but he's partnered with a striped skunk. So it's like the rare one with the ones we always get, and they are besties. So, but skunks definitely have personality, similar to raccoons, but on a different level. They get excited to see you, but then don't want you really there. So the stomping is part of everything, or the chittering. The chittering is a big part of skunk life, and that's all you hear. It depends on what they've had that day. For a raccoon, most likely they've already rolled in their food. So they're not as soft as you would think they are. But the skunks, definitely the skunks I think are softer, because even though they'll roll in their food too, they tend to lick it off of each other. So the food is already cleaned off of them, and they are fluffy and beautiful. They're very fancy. Fawns are about the same size of a dog, of a puppy, and you have to bottle feed them, and they definitely know who you are when they are little. So it's hard not to have them interact with the fawns, because you do have to bottle feed them every day. And they get excited, and they're sweet and innocent when they're little, and then when they get moved out to the outside pen, they're innocent to a point, and then their instincts kick in. And by kick in, they truly kick you. So bottle feeding larger fawns is always a challenge, because what they do for mom is they do this like kick out to kind of like let her know that they're ready to eat, and they will do the same thing to you. So when you go out to feed the fawns, be prepared to be covered in bruises, because there'll always be that one larger one that wants every single bottle of every single fawn and will just gorge themselves. Then as they get older, so we keep them until their spots are gone. So it's a long time. So as they get older, when they're raised together, they actually create this like own family of a group, and they actually run around the pen as a group like you would see out in the wild. That's when it gets really challenging, because they all have ear tags on, so you're trying to find a number, but they're all in a group, and you're like, but you need your bottle, come here, you need to have to eat. And I've slowly been teaching them their numbers. I have this theory that they're going to learn their numbers, so I'll go out to the fawn pen and be like, number 22, it's time to eat. And sometimes this fawn will come like running up like, that's my number, and come up, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, guys, you know your numbers. And they're smart, they're big. We get a lot of big fawns right now, but they're still so sweet. They're that sweet little puppy that you want to be around all the time until they're big and they grow their antlers. And then you have to be careful, very, very careful. Because they're wildlife and they need to be in the wild. That's when the instincts kick in, and they are wild no matter what.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I work for Tito's Handmade Vodka with our Vodka for Dog People program. The reason why Tito's Handmade Vodka supports Austin Wildlife Center is very simple. We learned early on about their dedication and their history, which caused us to be so compelled to support them and be a part of their continuous growth. They love helping the animal community just as we do, and even though dogs may be our story here at Tito's Handmade Vodka, we love all animals just the same. Austin is beyond lucky to have such a place that serves our wildlife community with such knowledge and compassion. Plus, having a tortoise named Tito is a definite win in our book. We are grateful to help Austin Wildlife Center in any way that we can, and I hope that you guys are too. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.
So I hope you're ready for some cute animal stories and success stories, because that's what makes us all smile, and that's what's up next. Also, I hope that everyone is sipping on a second Tito's cocktail by now. I'm looking forward to pouring an awesome possum once we wrap up this morning. Thank you so much to Tito's for providing those drink recipes, and Waterloo Ice House for donating 10% of proceeds today. Austin Wildlife Rescue's mission is to rehabilitate and release orphaned, injured, and sick wild animals and educate the public to coexist with wildlife. Each year, the number of animals that we care for increases. Austin and the surrounding counties continue to grow, and wildlife habitat is being destroyed. As I said, we're on track to take in over 8,000 animals this year and answer 13,000 phone calls. We're seeing a steady increase in human-animal conflict, and many people just don't know what to do. So not only is AWR here to help these animals, but also to educate people on how we can live together. We sometimes need to remind people that the animals were here first. We're actually living in their backyards, not the other way around. So many people ask us why we do what we do. Why don't we just let nature take its course? And for me, this answer is twofold. So first, these animals are trying to figure out how to live in the communities that we built. You know, trees are being cut down, habitat is being clear cut and destroyed, and animals have to cross more and more roads to find food and water sources. And at AWR, we feel like the least that we can do is help them out in return. Second, where would these animals go without us? If you found a wild animal and you didn't have a place to take it, what would you do? It's illegal in Texas for you to care for one of these wild animals without a permit. Most veterinarians can't care for one either without a permitted rehabilitator. And what will it eat? How will you raise it to go back into the wild so that you don't have a squirrel chewing on your baseboards or an adult raccoon playing in your toilet? Not only is AWR providing this service to the animals, but also to the humans that find them. You know, we never hang a no vacancy sign. We take in as many animals as we need to. Our staff work harder and they work longer to care for them, and then in turn we turn around each year and we raise more money to be able to do so again. We receive no city, state, or federal funding. Our doors stay open 365 days a year because of donors like you, so thank you so much. I always like to share a few of my favorite stories and pictures from the past year. The Corrigan Center is now in its second year. The new building smell is long gone. The animals have made their marks, that's for sure. So the first story I want to share with you today is this adorable baby bobcat, and definitely a staff favorite. She came into us, you know, she was cold, she was wet, she's found on a hike and bike trail in Austin. Someone picked her up, they brought her to us, and she was the messiest eater you can imagine. So she started out on a bottle. One of our rehabbers actually took her home because she was eating every 3 to 4 hours around the clock. And then when she was old enough to get off that bottle, we got her on formula where she would lap it out of a bowl, and she would stick her entire face in the bowl. There would be more formula on her face and on the floor than there definitely was in her stomach. So it was messy. It took her a long time, but she finally got the hang of it. And then she started to get a little hissy, like bobcats do, what we want them to do. And she slowly kind of was weaning off that formula, getting on more solids, getting on more meat. But we never want to raise one animal by itself, one single animal. We always wanted to have a buddy of the same species. So since we hadn't gotten any other bobcats in, we knew that we had to find another wildlife rehab center that was either willing, to trade or to give us one of their bobcats, and we would raise both, or they were willing to take ours. So we do this pretty regularly when it comes to single animals. So we called our friends out at Wild West Wildlife Rehab in Amarillo, and they had also just gotten a feisty young bobcat of their own in. So they were willing to take it. So we sent one of our volunteers up to Dallas to meet one of theirs. And so after a 2-week quarantine, because we always do that just to make sure everyone is safe, then they were put together. And I can tell you now that our bobcat has a new bobcat friend. And it is great to know that there's a lot higher chance, chances of release are looking good now that bobcat has a friend, and they can both, hiss and be raised together and not associate food or care with humans. So that's what we want to see. So we love stories like this. So this next story is one where, we were worried we get these animals in and they don't always have a good prognosis. We don't know if they have a good chance of being released, but if it seems like there's a chance, then we always want to try. So this yellow crown night heron came into us. He had a really weak side. So one wing and one leg just were not as strong as the other side, and he was really kind of gimpy. And you know, in the wild, sometimes animals get pushed out of nests. They don't necessarily fall out of nests. I think that Mother Nature is a little tougher than we are. So there probably wasn't a good chance in the wild that he would have made it, but we made the decision that we were going to try physical therapy. We were going to try to see if we could get him strong enough to be released again. So our operations manager started working with him daily, doing physical therapy, working out his leg, working out his wing, see what would happen. And you know, along the way, I think the staff got really attached to this one. People ask us all the time if we name our animals, and we usually don't. I think there's that attachment there when you name something, and for us, ours are all going back into the wild again, so it's a little bit different. But if one really grows on us, then it usually ends up with a name. So this guy was named Egbert, which just seems perfect. I love this picture of him with his crazy kind of feather hairdo, and this was when he was still younger. So they worked with him regularly. He really started to show improvement. We were all rooting him on, and you know, he made a full recovery, surprisingly. I think all of us were a little surprised. And you know, we wanted to make sure he was kind of a single, as I said, with the bobcat, we don't like single animals, but he was one that we were working so closely with that we needed to. So we released him on the pond at our rehab center, knowing that he could come and go as he pleased. We could still kind of keep an eye on him if we needed to. And then one day he showed up on our front porch and he started sunning, like in this picture. I think this is by far one of my favorite pictures of the year, and I actually saw him doing this. So he doesn't let us get too close to him. He's not friendly, but at the same time, he doesn't mind, you know, coming and going, hanging out on the porch a little bit. We'll even maybe throw him a little snack every now and then. So this is the kind of success story that we love to see. You know, maybe not a good prognosis, but definitely a good ending. So good job, Egbert. So we also get the funny stories, the ones that the staff get to laugh about. This checkered garter snake came into us, and he was pretty good size. He was brought in by our friends at Animal Control, and a citizen was concerned that the snake had either been run over, maybe he had a tumor, because his midsection was just so big and he was just laying in their yard. So staff took x-rays, and as you can see from the picture, he actually ate a really big frog. This is not a snake that needed rehab, so much as maybe he just needed a little nap. After we checked him over, we made sure he didn't have any other wounds. We returned him to the area that he was found. So while we love all animals, it's always fun to get the unusual ones. After feeding 200 possums or cleaning 100 raccoon cages, these next animals made us smile just a little bit bigger. Pelicans are another rare sighting for us. This one was released at, was rescued by all water guides from the Colorado River. He had multiple puncture wounds. So staff treated his wounds, they gave him dewormer, and then they treated him for mites, so he was good as new. But let me tell you, pelicans don't like any of these things, so he was a very difficult patient. You know, it's hard to paint a picture of just how many animals we're caring for at one time in the spring and summer months. This picture shows the crazy number of cottontail rabbits that we had just at one point. I think it was 62. Then there's the piles of possums, 2 full rooms of raccoon babies. There's a full room of songbirds with feeding timers that are going off every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and 2 hours. And I can tell you, you hear those timers in your sleep after you work in that room for just a day. So it's a lot. We have a lot of staff and interns helping us out, and volunteers. So for us, the ultimate goal is always to release the animals back into the wild. We want to see them back in their native habitat. We want to give them a second chance. So there's no better measure of success for us than a squirrel climbing a tree, a raccoon playing in a pond, or a raptor that's flying away. So this video will give you a glimpse of what's happening inside and outside the Corrigan Center each day.
Hi everyone, my name is Mariya and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Austin Wildlife Rescue. We thought we'd give you a behind the scenes tour of our rehabilitation center. Let's check in with Courtney.
My name is Courtney and I'm an animal care technician here at Austin Wildlife Rescue. We're in the mammal room right now and I'm going to be feeding some possums. They're getting fed about 6 times a day. These guys were found on the side of the street and they'll be here for about 3 or 4 months until they're ready for release.
In the month of April, we took in 820 animals and we are on track to help 8,000 orphaned and injured wild animals this year. Due to COVID-19, our intake donations are down 50%. Your donations provide specialized formula, medical care, and supplies for the animals we take care of. Austin Wildlife Rescue does not receive any city, state, or federal funding, so we rely completely on grants, fundraisers, and support from the community to help animals like these every single day. We opened the doors to our new Wildlife Rehabilitation Center April 1st last year, and the large new facility includes a surgery suite, food prep area, quarantine space, and individual rooms for different species of wildlife. Let's check in on what Catherine is doing in the bird room.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I am the team lead for small mammals and aquatic birds. I'm working in bird room today, so I'm about to feed some 20-minute baby birds. These are our small bug-eating birds, so we have 1 titmouse, 1 sparrow, and 2 blue jays. Wake up.
In a separate room, we have our recovering raptors that still need time to heal, like this barn owl and barred owl, whose call is one of my favorites. Outside, we have the raptor flight cage, deer pens, as well as small mammal cages where the staff are preparing squirrels, ring-tailed cat, and opossums for this week's release. Thank you so much for your support.
We appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday morning to catch up with us. I want to thank all of our sponsors today. I want to thank the Mockingbird and Jackrabbit level sponsors. I want to thank our Armadillo sponsors, Tito's Handmade Vodka, Reliant Plumbing, Leslie and Rich Nitschke, Forest Family Dentistry, and Bill Dixon. Our Gray Fox sponsors, Shippey Property Management, Tomlinson's Feed, Clint and Sarah Smith. Our Great Horn Owl sponsors, the Maw Gallery, Felix Media, Connie Marin, and Austin Area Wildlife Rehabilitation. And then I want to do a special thank you to the Nicholas J. Jury and Family Foundation for being our presenting sponsor this year. Our silent auction is open until tomorrow at 8 p.m. The link is in our video description, so you can go check out the items that we have to bid on. You know, we could not do this important work without your support. You keep our doors open every single day of the year. If you'd like to make a donation today, the link is in our video description. You can also go to our website and make a donation. Don't forget that all donations will be matched by our matching donor today. So thank you so much for being with us and have a great weekend.